So this week we are looking at the 6 key questions that help you choose your best feature film idea. Welcome to Feature Film of the Year, breaking down the process and busting the myths of making a movie. We've been doing a little series on kind of key questions to choosing your best idea for a feature film. And this next question is a really good one. It's, can the core idea be expressed simply? You know, there's that phrase going around, the elevator pitch. So, yeah, do you want to draw us out a little bit on that one?
I think it's a really important question to ask because at the end of the day, we digest information around us, starting from the most accessible point.
Okay.
And if you're bringing someone a film that's incredibly complex, that kind of goes into fascinating different worlds and kind of, you know, different situations, people still have to be able to access that at a point that they do understand. They have to be able to connect with it.
So kind of like the blurb on the back of a book.
It is a blurb on the back of the book. It's just the log line. Yeah.
As you were saying, the kind of the Netflix description or the description of a film when you look at it and you're trying to make a decision, looking through what to watch, and I think it's a very important skill as a filmmaker to be able to communicate your idea succinctly, because in a number of different ways, for if you're working with actors, if you're working with crew in terms of what you want to do sort of on set.
Do you guys, have you guys experienced that a lot, where you're trying to explain to an actor on set, like, this is the gist? That's just a really interesting thing I wouldn't have thought about.
Yeah, it's a very varied thing in terms of how directors work with actors, but in terms of communicating ideas, hopefully you cast the right person who you feel gets the idea. Any times of preparation, rehearsals, and then on set being able to communicate that and establish that, and that's why it seems like certain directors work with certain actors, because there's that, or certain crew members, because there's that established kind of vision for something. But I think it's on the kind of filmmaker to bring that kind of strength and
so I like
clarity.
what you said, like establishing the vision. That's almost another way of putting it. Like that's the elevator pitch, isn't it? Like keeping the idea simple. Is like, this is the core vision of the project, and kind of making sure we keep. Yeah, we'll get into the details and the nitty-gritty and the complexities, but it's always got to push forward the vision.
And you literally do have to pitch. Essentially, when you're trying to get, say, an actor or work with someone on there, it's like, this is the core idea and this is how you fit in. But again, if you get anywhere, often you're asking for someone for money. With your ideas, so pitching or going in for competitions, or but it's that key thing of, this is my idea, this is why I believe in it, this is why it'll be good, and this is, this is why you should be involved, whether that's money, cast or crew, or whoever else.
And also, like, there is such a sea of content nowadays. Like, you've got to try and you've got 3 seconds maybe in front of person's eyeballs scrolling through films, like, to catch their interest, get them hooked, hit the play button. So I can imagine that's another place where the keeping it simple, stupid kind of like kind of really helps. And
I think, like, our favourite films, there's, they're clear. It's the themes are clear, and or the scenario's clear, or there's something where there's something tangible that you can put your finger on as to why that works, for you.
For me, like, a little tidbit about me, apparently the first film I ever sit down and watched from start to finish was Toy Story, which I think came out the year I was born.
Woody?
No. And
You're way too young.
and what I find really interesting about it is like I just love that film with a huge like fanboy passion. I like the character and the emotion. Oh, I just love it. But what is so interesting about it is just a story about toys coming to life. Nothing else really. It's just the antics of toys where nobody's watching. That's it. Like it can be that simple.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it doesn't detract from the complexity it could go to, which is like this tension. So could you talk to me about the tension between what we talked about in the last video, the meat, so complexity, and what we're talking about in this video, the kind of keeping it simple?
I think the importance of keeping it simple, and knowing what your story is when it's boiled down to its absolute essence.
Okay. Yeah.
Is actually really helpful at helping you when it comes to tackling the meat and shaping the meat.
Yep.
And kind of spinning out that complexity over the length of a story. If you know what it is that the story is at its core, then you've almost got that as a kind of measuring line that you can hold everything else up against it and say, okay, is this kind of new subplot that I want to introduce, or this new character, is that actually benefiting the core of the story?
Good. That is really helpful.
Or is it like working against it? Could I consider cutting it? Could I consider reshaping it in order to fit in with the overall kind of promise of the film to the audience? I think that kind of ties in with genre as well, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Genre is kind of a shortcut for the audience to know roughly what the film is going to give them.
Yeah. And often that can be sort of kind of chopped and changed, blended together.
Yeah.
But definitely it's a signpost to, because it's often that thing, particularly before you're making something, it's something in your head that you're trying to communicate to someone. And communication is not a straightforward thing. So using these different things, and as Andy said, knowing what you want to go for helps everything else. It helps you make the decision in what is going to feed into something, because there can be a lot of good ideas. Yeah. And that happens throughout the filmmaking, in terms of writing, in terms of shooting, the way you work a scene through with an actor, or someone someone from wherever can come up with a suggestion. Sometimes when you get to the edit suite, you think, actually, that's, often films are kind of really changing the edit suite in terms of what fits in. Some films cut some of the best scenes.
I know, yeah. As you were talking, I was literally like imagining times I've watched deleted scenes with the director commentating, like we spent like a week shooting this and it just didn't fit.
I think for film, another film quote, I think is Darren Arfonsky, or however you say his last name, says you haven't made your film or something until you've cut your favourite scene.
Oh, brutal.
So it is. It does. It can be like that. Yeah. But that clarity of what you want to say, everything helps. I think the most successful films do that. Everything. Yeah. Because the bigger the film, the more people get involved, and then they need to be on board, and the person heading up, needs to know what you're aiming for. It doesn't mean you can't have happy accidents or spontaneity, but it all feeds into that core, clarity of what you want to say.
Yeah, like we had a similar discussion recently, just about something different, about like designing and artistry, and there's this idea of like, you could paint a huge, masterpiece, but could you possibly whittle it down to like 3 or 4 strokes and still get exactly the same element across, or the same medium or object across? And some of our favourite films that I can bring to mind are the films where every single scene is perfect. It feels perfect. Like it got everything it wanted to across. It didn't labour the point, or it wasn't confusing because it didn't describe it enough. It was just perfect. It was the right amount of time, with the right amount of words, the right amount of people, and then it moved on. And actually, that can be like a real constancy. I've constantly got to work on this from start, doing the script, but all the way to the end in the last cut, like getting back to the simplest form. Yeah,
I think we all have those films where we think, that's just everything. Or the ones which really don't work, and then the ones where you're like, it's perfect. I always think of Shawshank Redemption. Just seems one of the most perfect films for me in terms of just loads. But
Really
that I think that particularly the end scene that had to be that was shot very quickly. They ran out of time, but they kind of went with the whole the whole limitation. So it wasn't this dream thing, but the overall vision was through. But.
Yeah, and that's another benefit of knowing exactly what the film's about.
Yeah,
you can still roll with the punches.
Okay, yeah, good shout.
Yeah, the communication thing I think is really key because I know I tend to think like, I'm communicating this clearly, I'm communicating this well, but human communication by its nature is very ambiguous, very open to misinterpretation. And so the simpler you can make something and the more kind of the more ways that you can give the person listening to kind of click into your idea and understand what it is, whether that's kind of giving them a genre or comparing it to a film that's similar, that all just helps to both to give clarity for them, but also I think every time you do it yourself, you're re-clarifying what the film's about for you.
Yeah, because it's not a straightforward thing deciding, really boiling something down to its core and it continuing to be that spark. So through that, the process begins within yourself, and then it's externalizing that in whatever ways are, best. And sometimes you can't say the full thing, but then if you trust, if the people you're working with trust you, then that's then they can go with it. But definitely trying to do as much as you can. Yeah. To know it yourself and then externalize that, which can be visuals, can be talks, can be references to other aspects of other films, genre. There's various different things you can do that, but yeah.
So it'd be great to know actually what you guys think about this tension. Like as we've been chatting over these last two videos, loads of kind of films were mentioned and came to mind, and I've got quite a few others that I don't want to name and shame, it's not right, but like it would be great to know what your thoughts are. Are there any films that just laboured the point? It was the opposite of simple, it just kind of dragged on and on, or are there some films that you love that was just every single scene was sublime and the story was great? Those films that nailed the tension between enough meat but came across perfectly. It'd be great to know what you think. And back to you guys, in terms of this idea that you're working with, the Japanese guy who's had this amazing experience of like just being dedicated to his post, how has the need for simplicity, this kind of logline approach, helped you with making this decision?
I guess I've been trying to think, as we talked about this, like what is the sort of hook for that idea? What drew me to this kind of true story of this Japanese soldier who, held his post and only surrendered 30 years after the war ended. And I guess it is that question: what could cause a man to stay at his post, even what could cause a man to keep fighting a war until 30 years after the war has actually ended? It feels like there's in the same question there's enough to suggest there's a whole story there. But also it's got enough of that kind of hook that you're like, that is bizarre. Why would someone do that? It gets you thinking, what would I do if I were in their shoes? It's kind of relatable and yet also strange. So it's got the kind of combination of curiosity and
Nice, I like that. I'm excited.
And so, now the process now with that initial hook is how we kind of develop that, and then how we decide exactly what take is gonna be the focus and the ultimate hook about kind of getting people to communicate how good it sounds to us at the moment. Everyone else.
And I feel like
everyone's probably just watching.
That doesn't sound good at all.
That really sucks.
I feel like this is the kind of story where the character and his human condition, as you put it, like could be so complex that you could go down 101 different tangents. But having the logline that kind of hook you just described is actually going to be so helpful. Kind of going, we can always pull it back to its core. thing.
The title of a film often helps with that as well. In terms of that seems to be that, and then the log line in terms of helps feed, because sometimes films they don't seem to do themselves many favors with, or sometimes it's so far different than what it's actually about, but it works in terms of it's a surprise. You know? But they kind of relate, I think.
I also love imagining what's the film's trailer going to look like as well. Again, because a trailer is basically a log line spaced over 2 minutes. And if you see the way trailers are generally
or 5 minutes, the way trailers are now, well, they just pick every best scene, and then you're like, the trailer was actually better than the film.
You must be kidding, aren't you?
So I feel actually this is a bit of a golden nugget for you guys. For me, it has been. Like, actually, as much as you want your seed or idea to be complex and have lots of meat in it, like, everybody involved wants simplicity to a certain degree. The actor wants it, the filmmaker wants it, even your viewers want it. So it is really worth kind of honing your idea down to it's boiling it down to its basic form. So we've got boiled meat. I like this.
Sorry, vegans.